I grew up, there was music always in my house. My stepfather was a musician, sort of amateur guitar player and banjo player. And there was always all kinds of music. You know, during the week there was a lot of country music, but Sunday mornings I always listened to a jazz radio program, and so I was exposed to a lot of music early on. And you know, growing up, when I started playing guitar, I got into a lot of the guitar players, Clapton and Hendrix and Jeff Beck and these guys. But always had that sort of country roots, and as I started getting better at guitar, I would start playing, getting into older country guys, Don Rich and those kinds of guys.
You know, I remember my earliest music memories are we had a farm and we'd drive over to feed the cattle and we'd sing country songs in the truck, and we'd all be piled in there, so we'd sing Alabama songs and, you know, all sorts of stuff because we didn't have a radio in the car. But I grew up listening to the Beach Boys and the Beatles and Creedence, and mainly I just tape whatever the oldies radio station. I just make cassettes of it all the time and listen to that over and over. But so it was mainly listening to bands from the '60s, and you know, some of my other favorites were the Oak Ridge Boys and the Statler Brothers. You know, every kid I think loves to sing Elvira.
Well, I grew up with a pretty musical family in Arkansas, kind of out in the woods. My uncle, my mom's brother, was so movie people know where the light is. Sit. My uncle was a country musician. He played a Telecaster upside down. You know, he was left-handed, and I was a drummer in his country band when I was a little kid. And my mom, who's still a huge music fan, a big fan of the Boxmasters, she always played records at night. It's back when record players, you know, you put 7 or 8 records on there and they'd drop one at a time. And that's how we went to sleep every night, because everybody had their doors open in the house. You know, you could just hear it. She'd play it real loud. That's what we went to sleep to. And she listened to mainly Jim Reeves and Ray Price, and later on Christopherson, Johnny Cash. But the earliest records were the records from Sun. Jerry Lee Lewis and Elvis, and big Elvis household. Charlie Rich, who was one of the unsung heroes of Sun. And then later on, when the Beatles came out, it confused me because I wanted to be in the Beatles. And I'd grown up with all that other stuff, and really the Boxmasters are a result of all those influences of the early Sun records and all the early country stuff that we listened to, whether it was Hank Williams or Webb Pierce and whoever. And Del Reeves, a personal favorite of ours. Wilburn Brothers and Lubin Brothers. And then the Beatles came out with the Stones and the Kinks and the Animals. And what happened is, when we formed the Boxmasters, the whole idea behind it was we were people who loved all of that stuff. And we just wanted to find a way to put those together. So we wear these mod suits and look like a 1964 pop band when we play hillbilly music. And we record it as if it were a British invasion record, really. So I guess that's the unique thing about the Boxmasters, is that we do have all those influences, and we found a way to put them together.
Well, I know this will be cliche, you know, very typical. When I was young, I heard the Beatles and the Ed Sullivan Show, and that sort of did it for me. Years later, when I turned 15, I had friends that were in a band. They needed a bass player, so they got me a bass. You know, we borrowed one, and I remember the first thing I ever played was Hey Joe, but I could only do it on 2 strings with 1 finger, but there was a lot of notes to play, so it was pretty cool. And about 17, I knew music is what I'm going to do forever. So at 21, I moved from Baltimore to California and sort of stopped playing bass for the most part and started playing steel guitar until the Boxmasters. Until, you know, and it's, you know, I mean, I always played through the years, but not as seriously as this, just a lot of sessions and stuff as far as live work, and just having a ball. So here it is all this time later, and the kid who was 17 got it right so far.
Well, I'm from the East Coast, so my earliest recollection of playing was Paul Anka, the Drifters, all the soul stuff, Vanilla Fudge, Frankie Lyman, that kind of stuff. And just started playing with bands around town, all along the Asbury Park shore, all the shoreline clubs, and moved up to California and kept playing. Still playing. Playing right now.